Welcome back to Don't Waste My Mommy. We're sitting in my garden because we've had some technical difficulties and whatever. This episode of Don't Waste My Mommy is Don't Waste My Mommy that I took a living room furniture into the garden because she's gonna be angry. This is my cat Lennon. He wants to be involved in everything, and we're just gonna be lumming and talking nonsense for a little while. I just finished work. It's a Monday, and work on a Monday is always like the most hectic and the most intense. My cat is also running around, and so I'm quite tired. I also had to take, I'm on new medication for my ADHD or whatever diagnosis I have. And basically, this medication makes me nauseous and it makes me clench my jaw, and like my heart is racing and literally feels like I'm on drugs. But yeah, so by the end of the day, I'm pretty tired and pretty annoyed. And also, after work, I started reading Dostoevsky, which I've been a very big fan of. Like, this is a 500-page book, but I've been going through it with Dostoevsky because I was reading it and I was like, this bruh sounds like he has bipolar. And then I googled it, and he actually does have bipolar. And then there was like an article about how he's like a psychiatric genius for writing the way that he did, for like writing bipolar in such a weird way. And so I felt seen and I felt heard. But then I went on to TikTok, and I don't know, like obviously TikTok hears and sees whatever I'm doing. And then I saw a TikTok about Dostoevsky and how it's a lit bro book. And then I got angry because every single aspect of society these days needs to be characterized by something, and everything is problematic, and everything must be broken down, and you must find the smallest bits of nuance in the most absurd shit, even when none of that even exists. I mean, Dostoevsky is a bra writing Russian literature in like the 1800s. Mans is talking about his like psychological state and how he basically finds a moral argument for murdering someone, and it's about like the philosophy of morality and right and wrong, and it's like fucking interesting. But this white bitches on TikTok want to tell me that if I read this book that I'm a incel white boy that wants to shoot up school. And it's like, no, not necessarily. Sometimes I just really enjoy reading classic literature. And Dostoevsky is great. He's really, really great. Russian literature has this thing where, like, instead of making you scared of like things that go bump in the night or anything else, really, there's no scary creatures. What they just do is just show you like human suffering and the capacity that humans have for evil, and that's scary. But I really enjoy it. I really love Dostoevsky, but he does make you feel quite nihilistic afterwards. Anyway, I'm feeling very annoyed at the categorizations that exist. Like, there are so many tropes, there are so many things that we have to hear about all the time, that we either fall into this category of person or that category of person, and it's just very infuriating. Especially as a woman, I find all these tropes to be quite frustrating. Like, I was just watching this video about the that girl aesthetic, and how it's actually just about capitalism and consumerism and overproductivity and toxic productivity, and it's basically just girls trying to feminize a very male dominated. It's just a klomkak, basically. The whole conversation, the whole video was just a klomkak, because at the end of it I was like, is there no aspect of my being that doesn't need to be criticized by a fucking video essay? Like, is there no aspect of my personality that can just exist without someone on the internet having an opinion about what it means to the greater structures that exist in our society? Like, sometimes it's not that. Sometimes it's not about a deeply entrenched system. Sometimes it's just the things that we do. I'm so irritated of this idea that we have to find like nuances in like absolutely fuck all. Sometimes there's just nothing, and that's okay. But like these tropes that women have to like fall into constantly, like this that girl trope, it's just another way of saying like you're not a good woman if you fall into this category of being. This is not the right like category. every single time they point out these like errors that women find themselves doing, it's just like feminists telling you that you're not being a woman that they want you to be. And it's like, that feels very oppressive actually. I mean, I've seen so many of these TikToks talking about, I don't dress for the male gaze anymore, I dress for the female gaze. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? What is the female gaze? Why is there now another thing that I have to learn and work towards doing? It's all very frustrating and annoying. And I just don't want to do nothing anymore. That's the main thing. I don't want to do any of these things anymore. It's very exhausting. But yeah, it's just like endless tropes. I was reading Shauna Fife's book called Ogat, which I really enjoyed. I did like a little review on it on my Instagram story, but there were so many aspects of that book that were so relevant and relatable. But one of the things that she talks about is, she says something along the lines of, it's one thing to fight against the patriarchy, but it's a different thing to fight against the people that are fighting against the patriarchy. And she calls it oppressively liberating. And that's very much how I see things and how I feel about things recently, is that there are so many new rules for what a woman should do, what a woman should think, how a woman should feel, how she should dress, according to these like feminist structures. And I find it so funny that like feminism seeks to strip women of their autonomy the same way that they claim patriarchy does. And I'm 100% not an incel Reddit school shooter type boy, but I do really find all of this bullshit quite frustrating. Find it quite frustrating that if I like Fight Club, it needs to be, this is my cat. His name is Lenin. He's a revolutionary. People keep asking if he's named after the musician or the politician, and it's Vladimir Lenin. He's a Russian boy. But what was I saying? Oppressively liberating. Yeah. Every like a trope of what a woman is like broken down, and you're explained or they kind of explain to you why these tropes are so damaging to women, and why it's bad for you to be this type of way or that type of way, or all the problematic aspects of your existence. And it's like, okay, well then what do you want me to be exactly? Because every week there's like, Lennon, every week there's like a new version of what the right way for a woman to be is. Like, it changes so quickly and easily, and it's so frustrating. And I was thinking about when I was young and how I never really subscribed to any of these ideas, especially when I was very young. When I was very young, I was like a massive tomboy, and I was like my daddy's favorite, and I was fishing with him, and I always had dirt under my nails, and I was just gross. Honestly, I was just fucking gross. Like, I had braces, and I wore a Superman t-shirt and like baggy pants, and my hair was always a mess, and I was just always a mess. But I didn't really care about any of those things. And I remember I was like 9 or so when we were at the Berg River, and like at the time you'd go to the Berg River for like a month at a time, and like everybody would go over the festive period, over New Year's and Christmas and that whole period. And I used to love going to the Berg River. It was one of my favorite things growing up. And I was about 9, and I made friends with these 2 girls, and they were so pretty, and they had like these little matching sets, and they would wear like cute little tank tops and shorts or skirts and matching flip-flops, and their hair was always neatly tied. And I was like, how the fuck do you look so cute, like after you've been swimming in a fucking dam? But they were always so pretty, and I tried to be as pretty as them, I guess. I um I remember after hanging out with him one day, going back to our tent and like scratching in my bag and trying to find something that matched the way that their clothes matched, and like putting it on and feeling so awkward and so uncomfortable and so ugly, and realizing like I was never really gonna be a pretty little girl like that. Like that was never what I was gonna be. And that idea just kind of got um, further pushed and like not justified but validated as I got older. It's such a weird thing, like when you get your period and everybody tells you like you're a woman now, especially like in Islam, because in Islam we believe that when you get your period you're basically like you carry your own sins, and everybody tells you like, oh, you've become a woman now. It's like such a weird experience. But that's literally what everybody said to me when I got my period for the first time. It was like people were proud that I was bleeding from my vagina, even though it was extremely uncomfortable. And it was like, you're a woman now, we're so proud of you. And I was like, I don't understand why bleeding from my vagina is such a great thing, but okay. And then very, very quickly, it's like also met with this intense pressure and fear that, oh holy shit, I'm carrying my own sin, so like every single thing that I do God is gonna punish me for. So it's not a very fun experience. But when I was that age and I was being told constantly like you're a woman now, it was weird because I didn't really feel that way and I didn't really know what I was supposed to be like or act like, and I was still very much a tomboy. But it was weird going from being like this dirty gross tomboy that like everybody just kind of like all the boys kind of ignored me. I've always been like very close friends with boys, and like my best friends when I was in primary school were all boys, but all of a sudden like the dynamic changed and you were sexualized and your body changed without you wanting it to or without you knowing what was happening. Everything just suddenly changed, and the dynamics between me and other boys or friends or whatever was all of a sudden just so different and like sexualized. And then it was these like weird relationships that people got into in primary school, where it was like, well, you go out with me and then you date each other for like 2 days or like a week max, and basically means you're loving with each other at break time. But all of those things just happened so quickly, and I didn't really know what was going on, and I didn't really understand a lot of it, and I still didn't feel very much like I belonged to that category of girl that everybody was like after in primary school. I didn't understand what the purpose of any of these things were, and I remember, oh, this was like a very embarrassing aspect of primary school. I don't even know why I'm embarrassed about it. To this day, I feel embarrassed about it when I shouldn't be. But basically, this boy, he wanted to kiss me. And I was in grade 5. I was literally in grade 5. How old are you in grade 5? Like 10 or 11? And I was like, no, I don't want to. I'm a Muslim. I'm going to hell for this. I don't want to. And he cried. Like for a long time. Like he sat on the floor and he cried. And I had to sit with him and be like, oh, Pat, I'm so sorry about this. I didn't know what I was doing. And the funny thing is, he didn't get made fun of for crying because a girl didn't want to tell him. I got made fun of because it was like, well, why wouldn't you just do it? And he just went around telling everyone like Taahirah's not going to give it up. So the next boy that liked me was like, what's the point in liking you? You're just not gonna. It was weird. And so it was always just this weird like I was just very confused for a very long time about what it meant to be a woman and what a woman was supposed to be. Because, I mean, they were telling you, like, they were basically like sexualizing you without your permission when you didn't want to be sexualized, and then asking you, like, why aren't you a sexual being when you're in grade 5 or grade 6? And it's like, you had to be one of the girls that went into the bathroom and did stuff with boys, but if you were one of those girls, then you were a hoe and nobody really wanted to date you. It was a very fucked up system. And it's still at that point I didn't know what was expected of me, and I couldn't understand what was expected of me. And then when I started high school, I went to an all girls school, which I think was like one of the best decisions my parents ever made for me. It was great because I got to just be a mess and stupid and silly and weird, and I got to like curate this version of myself. And I don't know, to be honest, I think a lot of my issues stem from the fact that when I was 17, I feel now at almost 27 that 17-year-old Taahirah was the best version of me. Most people would disagree with that, I'm pretty sure, but I loved that version of me. Being in high school, it was also strange. Like, girls were so pretty and so orderly and neat and tidy, and I was just never one of those girls. And I knew that the thing that made me attractive to boys was not the way that I looked, but rather the way that I was just like, I was a mess, and I used to wear headbands. I used to wear Beatles t-shirts and chucks, and like, I was just this like fucking manic pixie dream girl. I really was. I watched 500 Days of Summer one too many times, and I just became a manic pixie dream girl at that age. And I think in high school, the way that I saw myself was very important. I wanted to be the most interesting girl. I wanted to be the most well-read, because all of these other girls were so much prettier than me. But there was one thing that I could be, and that would be more interesting and more funny. And like, it was stupid because I was really trying my best to be like not like other girls. But at the same time, I was at a girls' school, and I had like tons of friends that were girls, and we had a really good time together. But it was still so many like definitions of what it means to be a girl, what it means to be a woman, and how femininity is defined. I remember like very vividly being as always very interested in politics, always very vocal about it, and my dad has always allowed me to be as vocal as I wanted to be. But when we were at this family function, there were a bunch of guys, a bunch of men, older men, sitting at the table and talking about politics, and I wanted to give my opinion on one of these things, and I was like waved off, and the man was like, just go make some tea there. And it was like, ugh. And so, and then the worst and most frustrating experience when it came to all of this was this boy that I liked telling me that I lack femininity. And even though I was 17 and it's literally 10 years later, that idea is still something that bothers me so much, because 10 years on, I still have no idea what femininity is, or what it's supposed to be, or what I'm supposed to, like how I'm supposed to be feminine. I still don't know what it is. And I think like even now with like this gender movement and all of these terms have been redefined, and for like a lot of people it's extremely liberating, but for me it's just more of the unknown. I still don't know what I'm supposed to do or what I'm supposed to be, and it's really frustrating. So I've pretty much just given up on this like definition of what it means to be a good woman. But these tropes of modern day feminism and these ideas of what you need to believe and who you need to support, it's such bullshit, because there's just no autonomy in it at all. It's just different people controlling you and telling you who to be and what to be. And I thought like the whole point of all of this shit was to say like, fuck that, we'll do what we want. I thought that was the point of the liberation of women, was autonomy. Like that was what the movement was in the 60s. It was young women on campuses saying like, I don't give a fuck if I'm gonna get raped. I don't want to have a curfew. The boys don't get to have a curfew. Why should I? And the answer was, well, because we need to keep you safe. And they were like, fuck that, we don't want to be kept safe. We want to make the choice to put ourselves in a dangerous situation. It was about autonomy. And now it's like this thing of treating women like fragile little objects, where we need to be protected from absolutely everything in the world, including our own thoughts. Our own thoughts are, what's the word? What's the term everyone keeps throwing around? Internalized misogyny. I keep hearing that all the time, and it's like, at what point do I get to say, but this is my own thoughts, these are my own feelings that I've thought through carefully, and yeah, like these are deeply entrenched systems and so on, but do I not have any autonomy? Do I not have any say? Do I not have any power ever at all in this entire system? Is that what we are supposed to believe? That women are just intrinsically helpless within the system? I don't believe that. I don't believe that even a little bit. We have Winnie Mandela as an example. That bitch necklaced people. She did not care. That is a feminist icon. Angela Davis with the AK-47, that's a feminist icon for me personally. And it was actually Angela Davis that said something that's like always stuck with me. She said something along the lines of like, I won't fight for women to break through the glass ceiling, because those women that are trying to break the glass ceiling are already at the top there, at the tippy top of the pyramid. So why must I fight for you to get even higher? And like, Roe v. Wade was just overturned, and for some reason this has massive consequences of, all over the world. It's so strange because abortion laws and women's rights have been rolled back in various countries in the West for the last few years. Like, there were lots of situations in, well, not necessarily the West, but like, the northern hemisphere, I guess. Poland was an example in 2020. They had like massive protests about it, but for some reason, whatever happens in America just like perforates through the rest of the world. And now with Roe v. Wade being overturned, all of a sudden, like, my Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and just about everything is filled with these images of Hillary fucking Clinton and RBG and like all of these like feminist icons, when it's like these women were fucking problematic and horrible. Like, people are talking about Kamala Harris now all of a sudden just because she's a woman, she's amazing, and it's like, no, she's a piece of shit. She's always been a piece of shit. Her being a woman doesn't make her any less of a piece of shit. But again, it's like, don't ever question the fact that Ruth Bader Ginsburg sat in the fucking Supreme Court and did not make any movements around abortion. And she decided to sit there until she died so that there wouldn't be a new appointment. And then Trump appointed like all of these other fucking justices. It's Maghrib now. And that's pretty much all I have to say. I have a lot more to say on feminism and how fucked up it is in this white girl boss bullshit feminism. I have a lot of ideas, but it's Maghrib now and I need to be a good little Muslim girl. Thank you.